The year is 1979. A quiet town, a close-knit community, a life that simply vanished into thin air. One morning she was there. By nightfall, she was gone. No note, no struggle, no witnesses. Just an unnerving silence that would last for over 4 decades. For 44 years, her case file collected dust on a shelf, a cold case frozen in time. The family was left with a void, a wound that refused to heal. The police had nothing. The initial investigation was a maze of dead ends. They questioned everyone: family, friends, neighbors. They chased down every lead, no matter how small or strange. A sighting here, a rumor there. Each one evaporated under scrutiny, leaving behind only more questions. The case grew colder with each passing year. Hope dwindled, then faded completely. Eventually, the file was officially closed. Another unsolved mystery, another ghost haunting the archives of law enforcement. The story should have ended there. But it didn't. 44 years later, a young, ambitious detective stumbles upon the old case file. Something about it calls to him. The faded photographs, the yellowed witness statements, the sheer brutality of the disappearance. He feels a connection to the victim, a pull to uncover the truth that had been buried for so long. He decides to take another look, armed with technology his predecessors could only dream of. He pores over every detail, re-examining evidence that was once considered useless. A piece of clothing found near the scene. A small, seemingly insignificant item left behind. Decades ago, these were just things. Today they could hold the key. He sends them to the lab, a long shot, a flicker of hope against a mountain of doubt. The initial days of the original investigation were frantic. The town was gripped by fear. Door-to-door canvases turned up nothing. Searches of the surrounding woods and countryside yielded no clues. It was as if she had been erased from existence. Let's look at the original suspects. First, there was the family. In cases like this, the first 48 hours are crucial, and the focus often falls on those closest to the victim. The husband, the siblings. Their alibis were checked and rechecked. They were grieving, distraught, but were they hiding something? The pressure was immense. Then there were the neighbors. The nosy one who saw a strange car. The quiet one who kept to himself. Each was scrutinized, their lives turned upside down, but nothing concrete ever emerged. A local worker, known for his temper, was also questioned. He had a flimsy alibi, but with no physical evidence linking him to the scene, police had to let him go. And finally, there was the mysterious witness. A person who claimed to have seen something that night, but whose story changed with each telling. Was it a cry for attention, or a genuine but confused memory? The police couldn't be sure. Each path led to a brick wall. The investigation stalled. The community, once united in its search, slowly returned to its routine, the memory of the disappearance becoming a local legend, a ghost story told to children. The family was left to navigate their grief alone, trapped in a nightmare with no end. Years turned into decades. The world changed. Technology advanced at a breathtaking pace. And in a sterile lab, a scientist was about to change everything. The detective's long shot paid off. From that tiny piece of evidence, that forgotten fragment from 1979, technicians were able to isolate a microscopic sample. It was something unimaginable back then, a full DNA profile. A genetic fingerprint of the person responsible. The lab ran the profile through the national database. It was a search for a needle in a haystack 44 years old. Days turned into weeks. The detective waited, the weight of the family's long-held hope on his shoulders. He revisited the old crime scene photos, trying to see what others had missed. The overturned chair. The missing personal items. The subtle signs of a struggle that were overlooked at the time. He constructed new theories. What if the motive wasn't what they first thought? What if the killer was someone no one had ever suspected, hiding in plain sight for all these years? Then the call came. A match. The system had found a match. After 44 years of silence, the case roared back to life. The name that flashed on the screen was not on the original suspect list. It was someone who had lived a quiet life, a ghost in the system, until now. Suddenly, everything was thrown into chaos. The old theories were shattered. The original suspects, who had lived under a cloud of suspicion for decades, were finally cleared. The focus shifted entirely to this new person of interest. Who was he? What was his connection to the victim? Why had he never been on the radar? The police had to move fast but carefully. This was their one chance to bring justice, to finally give the family the answers they had waited a lifetime for. The suspect was now an old man, living in a different state, a different life. Did he think he had gotten away with it? Did he ever think about that night in 1979? The detective and his team began to build their new case. They pieced together the suspect's life, tracing his steps back through time. They discovered he had lived in the same town for a short period, right around the time of the disappearance. He had no criminal record to speak of, nothing that would have raised a red flag. He was a phantom. They re-interviewed old witnesses, their memories now faded by time, hoping to jog a flicker of recognition. They showed them an old photo of the new suspect. A few paused. A vague familiarity. He looks like a guy who used to work down at the old mill, one might say. Another piece of the puzzle. The motive, however, remained hidden. Why her? Was it random? Was it planned? The new suspect provided no easy answers. When the detectives finally knocked on his door, 44 years later, his face showed no emotion. Just the quiet resignation of a man whose past had finally caught up to him. For the family, the news was a tidal wave of emotion. The call came on a Tuesday morning. The case was being reopened. They had a suspect. Decades of suspended grief, of unanswered questions, of annoying, uncertain emptiness, came flooding back. There was relief, but it was tangled with pain. The wound, which had scarred over but never healed, was torn open again. Seeing the face of the man accused of taking their loved one was surreal. He was just an old man now. Not the monster they had imagined in their darkest nightmares for all these years. The community, too, was stunned. The old ghost story was suddenly real. The reopening of the case dominated local news, with old newspaper clippings and black and white photos flashing across television screens. It was a stark reminder that the past is never truly gone. It's always there, waiting. The fight for justice is just beginning. The courts will now decide the fate of the man identified by a ghost of a clue from 1979. But for the family, one thing is certain. After 44 years of suffocating silence, they finally have a name. They finally have a face to put to their pain. And they finally have a chance at the one thing they were denied for so long, an answer. The wheels of justice turn slowly, but for this cold case, they have begun to turn once more, powered by science, dedication, and the refusal to let a memory fade away. The truth, no matter how long it takes, will always find a way to the surface. This is the power of persistence. It's a testament to the detectives who refuse to let a case go cold and to the science that can reach back through time. The story is far from over, and we will be following it every step of the way. Thank you for joining us on this journey into a case that time almost forgot. Make sure to subscribe to CaseFyx and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our updates on this and other compelling true mysteries. We'll see you in the next investigation.